So now we see the volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. So there is a separate a measurement is there to calculate its concentration is volume strength. So normally for general solution we used to use the calculations, nothing but their concentrations in normality, molarity, mole fraction, etc. and weight percentage, nothing but mass percentage, volume percentage. So here we use the same measurement for hydrogen peroxide, and there is some other expression, there is another measurement for expressing its concentration is volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. So what is volume strength of hydrogen peroxide means? This is based on its decomposition reaction. We know that hydrogen peroxide is a very unstable liquid. It easily decomposed into water and oxygen. Here important one, the volume of oxygen. The volume of oxygen released from a sample of hydrogen peroxide. So, మనం తీసుకున్న hydrogen peroxide నుంచి how much oxygen is released? The amount of nothing but the volume of oxygen released from a specific amount of hydrogen peroxide is calculated to express the volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. The volume strength of hydrogen peroxide అంటే hydrogen peroxide concentration చెప్పాలంటే మెయిన్ గా మనం దేని బేస్ చేసుకొని చెప్తామంటే హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ decomposition reaction. The hydrogen peroxide decomposition reaction gives water and oxygen. Here main importance ఇచ్చేది ఏంటంటే ఎంత ఆక్సిజన్ రిలీజ్ అయింది. సో దాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని మనం దాని హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ అంటే మనం ఒక శాంపిల్ను 1 శాంపిల్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ తీసుకుంటే ఒక స్పెసిఫిక్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ దట్ శాంపిల్ నుంచి ఎంత ఆక్సిజన్ తీసుకురావచ్చు. హౌ మచ్ ఆక్సిజన్ కెన్ బి లిబరేటెడ్ with the specific sample of that hydrogen peroxide. So దాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకొని దాని వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంగ్త్ నథింగ్ బట్ కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేస్తాం. సో నౌ we see the first method nothing but in terms of moles తీసుకుందాం. Here 2 moles of hydrogen peroxide releases 1 mole of oxygen. 2 moles for example 2 moles means 2 moles of hydrogen peroxide gives 1 mole of means 22.4 liter of oxygen. These are all at STP. So 2 moles. So what about for 1 mole? It is 7.2 liter oxygen. So 1 mole. So where if you are calculating for 1 liter at STP, means for 1 molarity it is equal to 11.2 volumes, nothing but 11.2 liter of oxygen for 1 molarity. So what is for 1 normality? Generally for 1 molarity we used to calculate with molecular weight, that is 34. For 1 normality means we used to calculate for 17. Here 34 grams, here for 17 grams. That gives 5.6 liters. It is taken as 5.6 volumes of oxygen. So this is the main basic formula we need to use in the calculations. That is 5.6 volumes of oxygen equal to 1 normality. Okay, 1 molarity is also we can take 11.2 liter volumes of oxygen, but the main we give importance for normality. So why 5.6 volumes of oxygen is equal to 1 normality. This is in terms of moles and molarity and normality. And see the alternate one. Here 2 moles means converting into grams. Sorry, 2 into 34 grams of hydrogen peroxide. Here again it releases 1 mole means 22.4 liter of oxygen. Then what about for 34 grams? 34 grams it is 11.2 liter of oxygen. So this is 34 grams generally for 1 mole. If we use 17 grams, it becomes 5.6 liters, or we can say 5.6 volumes of oxygen. Because 17 grams generally we use it for normality, for equivalent weight of hydrogen peroxide. So 17 grams, nothing but 5.6 volumes of oxygen. So here we get another relation that 5.6 volumes of oxygen equal 1 normality. It may be written as 17 grams, but normality means we always calculated for 1 liter. Calculated for 1 liter means it can be written as 17 grams per liter. Okay. Now we see the other relations which made easy to for these calculations. So another important one, this 17 grams per liter. So if we calculate it for 100 milliliters, generally per liter means so here it says that 17 grams, this is for 1 liter, 1000 milliliters. So then for 100 milliliter, generally for percentage purpose, for the percentage purpose we will calculate 100 only. So it becomes 1.7 grams, that equal to 1.7 percentage. Means here we can add the other relation, that is 5.6 volumes of oxygen equal to 1 normality, and nothing but equal to 17 grams per liter, or it can be written as 1.7 percentage, because we calculated for 100 milliliter. For 100 calculation we say it is percentage. So 5.6 volumes of oxygen is equal to 1 normality or 17 grams per liter, or 1.7 percentage. Okay, means here 5.6 volumes of oxygen. So this indicates that 5.6 volumes of hydrogen peroxide. So it can be written as 5.6 volume of oxygen liberated. So it can be written as this much of oxygen liberated. So we can write it as 5.6 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. 5.6 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide is exactly equal to 1 normality, which is exactly equal to 17 grams per liter, which is exactly equal to 1.7 percentage. Okay, this is the general criteria or general formula to calculate the concentration of hydrogen peroxide. And again we made it somewhat easier one for calculation purpose. Here 5.6 volumes of hydrogen peroxide means that is equal to 17 grams per liter. So now we calculate it for 10 volumes. We calculate it for 10 volumes. So this we are taking as a criteria for easy calculations, we are taking 10 volumes. So we know that 5.6 volumes equals 1 normality. Then what about 10 volumes of hydrogen peroxide is how much normality? that is equal to approximately 1.785. Means 10 volumes is nothing but equal to 10 volumes of hydrogen peroxide is equal to 1.785 normality. Now it convert into molarity. We know that normality is equal to molarity into its N factor. Hydrogen peroxide as its acidic character, its basicity is 2. So normality 1.785 molarity, and here we get molarity is equal to 0.89. Means for 10 volumes of hydrogen peroxide, 10 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide having 1.785 normality and 0.89 molarity. And next we see its percentage. So we know that 5.6 volumes are equal to the percentage, that is 1.7. We got it here. .6 volume strength hydrogen peroxide is equal to 1.7%. So what about 10 volumes? 10 volume hydrogen peroxide is how much? Here we get approximately 170. That is equal to 3.33%. Okay, nothing but exactly 3.03%. So just 5.6 volumes we are converting into 10 volumes just for easy purpose. So from now we use the calculations. 10 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide is equal to 1.785 normality, which is equal to 0.89 molarity, which is equal to 3.03%. Even there is one other relation. Just we need to remember only this relation. With the help of this, we can calculate any other values. For example, 100 volumes. 100 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide is nothing but 17.85 normality, 8.9 molarity, nothing but 30.3%. So generally used, the commercially used hydrogen peroxide is 10 volumes. 10 volumes of hydrogen peroxide is commercially used one. Means if you go to the lab, so there is a different types of hydrogen peroxide you will get. So what is the difference in the samples of different hydrogen peroxide? Means their volume strength is different. So for example, it's a very important one. There is some other criteria to express the volume strength. What is the exact meaning of volume strength of hydrogen peroxide? Means we know that on the decomposition of hydrogen peroxide we will get some amount of oxygen. So all samples of hydrogen peroxide do not give the same amount of oxygen. For example, 2 moles ki 1 mole of oxygen release according to this equation. But different samples of hydrogen peroxide తీసుకుంటే according to this equation 2 moles నుంచి 1 mole of O2 రావాలి. కానీ exact 2 moles నుంచి 1 mole of oxygen రాకపోవచ్చు. సో దాన్ని మనం వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ అంటే దీని కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ చెప్తాం. అంటే ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ దీని నుంచి పర్ఫెక్ట్గా ఎక్కువ ఆక్సిజన్ ప్యూర్ అనుకోండి, ఎక్కువ we will get more oxygen. It is somewhat having some impurities, so we will get less oxygen. Okay, అంటే ఎలా డిఫైన్ చేయొచ్చు అంటే మన వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ని so volume strength of hydrogen peroxide, so we can define the amount nothing but the volume of oxygen liberated by 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide. The volume of oxygen liberated by 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide is treated as its volume strength. For example, ఒక శాంపిల్ తీసుకుందాం. ఏ శాంపిల్ 100 volume strength hydrogen peroxide. So already for calculation we know this type of formulas. Now we are just see our conceptual one. 10 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide and the meaning is అంటే మనం ఒక శాంపిల్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ తీసుకుందాం. అంటే ఈ శాంపిల్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ శాంపిల్ నేమ్ ఏమి ఇచ్చినా మనం 10 వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ అన్నాం. సో దీని మీనింగ్ ఏంటంటే ఈ శాంపిల్ నుంచి 1 లీటర్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ తీసుకుంటే ఇట్ కెన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ ఫ్రమ్ దిస్ శాంపిల్ the 1 liter of hydrogen peroxide can produce it 10 volumes అని ఎందుకు నేమ్ ఇచ్చామంటే it releases 10 liters of oxygen. ఇది ఒకవేళ మనం 100 వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ ఉన్న హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ తీసుకుంటే 1 లీటర్ నుంచి 100 లీటర్స్ ఆఫ్ if the sample is 100 వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ ఉన్న తీసుకుంటే సో దాని మీనింగ్ ఏంటంటే 1 లీటర్ ఆఫ్ దట్ శాంపిల్ 1 liter of the sample of hydrogen peroxide can produce 100 liters of oxygen. అంటే టోటల్గా రిలీజ్ చేసే ఆక్సిజన్ అమౌంట్ని బట్టి అంటే ఇది 1 యూనిట్ నుంచి హౌ మెనీ యూనిట్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ కెన్ బి రిలీజ్డ్. ఇది 1 లీటర్ 1 ml తీసుకున్నాం అనుకో 10 ml 1 లీటర్ తీసుకుంటే ఇక్కడ 100 మిల్లీలీటర్ అంటే మొత్తం మీద 10 వాల్యూమ్స్ అన్నప్పుడు 1:10 రేషియోలో ఆక్సిజన్ ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. 100 వాల్యూమ్స్ అన్నప్పుడు 1:100 రేషియోలో ఆక్సిజన్ ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. అంటే టోటల్ బేస్డ్ ఆన్ రిలీజింగ్ వాల్యూమ్ ఆర్ నథింగ్ బట్ అమౌంట్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ బేస్ చేసుకుని కాన్సన్ట్రేషన్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ ఇండికేట్ చేస్తాం. ఫర్ ద క్యాలిక్యులేషన్ పర్పస్ we need to just remember these main relation. Okay, and this definition one. Okay, now we see a few problems on it. Okay, see the problem based on it. So calculate the number of moles and weight of oxygen which is produced on heating 1.12 liter. This is given volume of volume of hydrogen peroxide. The volume of hydrogen peroxide is 1.12 liter. So what is the sample? What type of sample? 10 volume strength. The strength of this hydrogen peroxide is 10 volumes. We know that 10 volume strength of hydrogen peroxide means we know that from this 1 liter hydrogen peroxide can produce 10 liters of O2. So that's why it is called 10 volume strength. 10 volume strength ante దాంట్లో 1 unit can release 10 units of oxygen. So we are taking in terms of liters. సో అంటే 10 వాల్యూమ్ స్ట్రెంత్ శాంపిల్ తీసుకుంటే 1 లీటర్ ఆఫ్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ నుంచి 10 లీటర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఆక్సిజన్ వస్తుంది. దట్ 10 వాల్యూమ్స్ అండ్ మీనింగ్ ఈస్ దట్. బట్ హియర్ టేకెన్ అమౌంట్ ఈస్ 1.12 లీటర్. సో 1.12 లీటర్ హైడ్రోజన్ పెరాక్సైడ్ కెన్ ప్రొడ్యూస్ హౌ మచ్ ఆక్సిజన్? that is 11.2 liter of oxygen. So the volume of oxygen produced is 11.2 liter, but we need to calculate moles. Convert it into moles. The number of moles of oxygen equals at STP, so there is 22.4 liters at this STP value to do 0.5 moles. So here we got 0.5 moles of oxygen. Then also said that find the weight. So the number of moles equal to, already we know another formula. Number of moles equal weight by gram molecular weight. We need to find the weight. So weight equals number of moles into what is gram molecular weight. So gram molecular weight, we know that we need to find out for oxygen. That is 16 grams. So at last we get 16 grams of oxygen and 0.5 moles of oxygen. Okay. So from this we pick up a formula that for direct calculation we pick up a formula that so always the volume of O2 can be written as, for direct calculation, volume of this hydrogen peroxide. Just with the help of this formula we are picking another formula. On this calculation we are getting another formula. This volume of oxygen is this is the volume of hydrogen peroxide. What it means here is a strength into volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. So from now onwards we can take it as a formula. Volume of oxygen obtained from any sample of hydrogen peroxide can be calculated as volume of hydrogen peroxide. It's a volume strength of hydrogen peroxide. It will give the direct answer, same 11.2 liters. Then it is converted to moles. With the help of moles we convert it into weight. Okay.